This is a quick comparison on the Eheim StreamOn 9500 Plus. Amazing pump, I love it. It's great, but only specifically for big tanks and only at its full power. If you use the switch that many of you, if you're watching this video, would have probably checked out by now, if you numb it down, then the flow is pretty much non-existent and doesn't really, based on the surface area of the outer rim of the actual fan, put out as much water in an effective and focused manner as you would potentially like. It doesn't go straight from a pump that puts out 9,500 liters to something that then puts out at its maximum, or efficiently at least, 6,500 liters. So it's either 9,500 or nothing. I think with this pump, great pump, definitely going to keep it. It's definitely at home and has a place in my larger tank. And maybe I can show a video of that running soon. But effectively, I just wanted to give my motivations for why I went for this pump, which is about £6 cheaper, to be fair. It doesn't have the warranty that this one does, but is more robust and useful for me in a wide range of tanks because it's got a much more focused flow. The surface area on this pump is not as big as this one, as I'll show you now, and you have a actual remote control to level various different things such as wave functionality. This one doesn't have, without an additional unit that you have to purchase from them, obviously. And it also gives you a constant flow rate which you can adjust in power. It has a mode that tests for sort of whether lights are on or not and then adjusts the flow accordingly, and it has a lot of features within this £60 package versus this £65 package, which is like a constant flow. So I'll quickly unbox this and show you what it looks like. So this, I have to do it on one hand because I don't have my GoPro to hand. This is basically the item. So this is, if I can get it out in a clean manner. Excuse me. I hate doing videos like this. But this is basically the mechanism for attaching it to the glass. You've got to pull these apart. They are really, really strong magnets. You do not want to accidentally sort of make this contact in a way that you're not prepared for, because it will probably shatter your glass unless you've got something really, really thick. And you probably don't want to use a tank with glass that isn't equal to the sort of thickness of one of these magnet hands. So I think what they recommend is, and they sort of tell you on the pictures as well, is that you slide one piece up to meet the connector on the opposing side within the tank. If you try and connect them together, then they will probably smash together and could potentially crack your glass. So you definitely don't want to get this wrong, especially not with this magnet, because it is brutally strong. And it's only got small rubber contact feet here, which, I'll be honest with you, with the power that this magnet can put out, it will probably do nothing in the way of trying to stop any damage. That would definitely happen to your glass if it got in the way. Trying to separate one hand is impossible, at least for me anyway. The magnet's just too strong. You really got to sort of pull it apart. So definitely for thicker glass tanks. This bit bolts onto the end of here, and then that gives you, I'll just quickly do that one hand. Oh, sorry, one sec. Right, so that, once it's bolted on, for argument's sake, that's kind of how it looks like, and that's how much space it takes up. Now, if we look at this, just moving that out of the way for the moment, if we look at this, this is the wave maker, right? It's pretty much, the size of the box of the entire device. And bear in mind, this thing has, I'll go through it, the power head, magnet base, and this is the sort of opposing magnet. Now, in comparison to that size, it's not much smaller, but marginally. Has rubber on the face, which basically minimizes the smashing impact when if you were to accidentally just connect it directly on your glass like that, then even there it sticks, is quite powerful. It wouldn't smash the glass in the same way that this has it accidentally done when I was trying to attach it to a larger tank. This pump here, in terms of its size and capacity, if you look at it in comparison, it's literally nothing. It takes up no room in your tank. It's not necessarily going to go unnoticed, but yeah, it definitely is a better option. It doesn't put out as much power, obviously. I think people will definitely comment on here and say, oh no, but it's not the same power output. Completely accept that. I think it's just about having a clean setup. I mean, a lot of people go to a lot of effort to put things in their tank. I'm not saying this is a bad looking pump, but this you can use in your 120 litre up to your sort of 500 litre tanks, and it will have a place in there and a purpose. That's the sort of overall crux and point. The cable, I think, in length is similar. You're not going to get this is 200 centimeters. I think this is about the similar type of length. It looks like it's a bit more, but I think it is also about 200 centimeters. Don't hold me to that. And then here, this is the real sort of outstanding feature of this. So one, it's got a waterproof connector which has a plug that you can seal it with on here, and on this remote control you can control the strength of the actual pump, and it's got a good power band all the way through. I've got another similar clip comparing this pump to the OW10, which I bought accidentally, and I'm almost leaning towards keeping it just because it performs so well. I've seen a lot of guys in the US use this, but not many reviews, if anything, in the UK, which is why I'm doing one. The plug that I got with it is a UK 3-pin adapter. I bought this from Amazon, so I'd recommend you guys do the same and maybe try and avoid eBay if at all possible. You've got different, I guess, settings, which a lot of people, anyone that's looking at Jebao pump already kind of knows how it works. I'm not going to run you through all this. You know how this thing functions, you get what it does. I just wanted to make a quick comparison against the Eheim pump, and I don't want to go into too much detail because just make this video unnecessarily long. For me personally, the settings I know I'm going to use and can tell you now are going to be the various wave modes, so between W1, W2, and then the H, which is for consistent flow. So I tend to leave the consistent flow whilst I'm out during the day, and you know, at varying sort of times I'll leave the wave on, just depending on what I'm trying to do and what I have in the tank at the time. At the moment, this is going to go in a 130 litre tank with peacocks and a few other Malawi baboonas and whatever in there. So this is kind of perfect for that, and I know I'm not going to have to keep at the top end of the range like I had to do on the OW10 to get anything out of it. So obviously I think the key thing here is you don't want to go for the biggest and most powerful, because it will probably stress out your fish and you want to avoid that, and that's pretty much what this thing does if it's in a tank of a smaller capacity than what you'd really want that in there for. Whereas with this one, you can kind of level it around and put it in a wide variety of tanks. And this is a lot smaller than the fluval pump as well, for any of you looking at the fluval pump. I know I haven't covered it in this video, but those are CPC series, the 3 and 4. This is a lot smaller than that and has much better power output. The last season of Eheims were not as powerful as the fluval pumps, but I think these ones definitely give it a run for the money. But I mean, I'm going to try my luck with this. If I lose out and it breaks, then I've lost 60 quid because there's no warranty with it. But I think this definitely delivers power throughout the whole bandwidth, and that's quite important, which means my opportunity to use this pump is quite big. Also, it pretty much has the 3D functionality that this one does. Different type of setup, because you can adjust the actual head on there based on how much you tighten this and its contact with the overall head here, whereas this is kind of a lot easier. There's just rubber connectors holding it in place, and you can angle the actual pump however you want, up, down, etc., to try and sort of, you know, change the pump wave or just have it flat on in the first place. It also helps you to angle the wire where you want, whereas with this one, if you've got any type of fish that bite wires and things like that, yeah, fine, you know, you can sort of curl it underneath and then, I guess in effect, difficult to do this in one hand, wrap the wire through here and then run it back up the tank. But it's not ideal, and this one, it's got to be in a fixed position like this. If it's not in a fixed position like this, effectively this way up, thinking that the surface of the water is here, then it won't run properly. And again, as I've explained in one of my other videos, it's got this interval control where basically you move the switch, and if you guys notice that, any water flow through anywhere in the upper column of the pump is basically restricted. Now this pretty much makes this thing, in my view, quite useless, because the surface here is so big, it doesn't really concentrate the water anywhere, so it kind of just pushes water around, and it doesn't really make a nice consistent stream, which is, maybe some people want that, I don't know, but I think, you know, effectively the whole purpose of this is for it to go between a pump that goes from a 9,500 litre per hour output to 6,500, and it just doesn't feel like that. I've seen the model down from this at 6,500, and it does not feel like how this feels in the water when you turn it down a notch. So it's either going to have to be sort of almost all or nothing. It does have like a halfway setting and then a fully closed setting, but again, I wouldn't bother. I either run this at 9,500 or don't waste your time. It won't sort of give you the full flexibility that something like this does. At £5 cheaper, again, you know, most of us fishaholics spend quite a bit of cash on these pumps, so I think, you know, that's sort of covered what the difference between those two are and why I would pick this one over that one, even though they're priced similarly, and that's why I've compared them. I know the power outputs are different, but that was my sort of justification with doing this video. I hope it was useful to someone. I'm guessing you guys are looking at one or the other of these. Definitely don't get the smaller size in this one. It is absolutely rubbish. It doesn't have this type of well-built, if you will, German feature. It's got a silly plastic bit that just slides across here, and if your fish knock into it or anything, and even if they don't, you're just angling it down, gravity will probably pull it over and reduce the flow in that pump. And by that one, I mean this one here, this 3500, absolutely useless. Don't buy it. If you're going to, just go and get this one here, which is your ODW10, which I'll be returning soon, which I mentioned. I'm not going to go into that any further, but don't buy this one. Either buy the 6500 or 9500. Don't go for anything else. I got this one again because it's going to be for a 6-foot tank where it's going to fit in perfectly. It won't take up too much room. You'll notice it, but you know, it's got a purpose in that tank. But yeah, I think that's it. I'm going to cut it there. I hope this is useful for you guys. Cheers.